Hey, it's Mark with Mark's House of Cars, and I've had a request for this video where I go over what I paid for each car, what it's worth, some of the special features. I'm going to do this for all the cars in my garage, and they're not all here right now. These are all just fit in my house garage. I also have my office garage and a few cars outside as well. So I do this on TikTok lives all the time, but I've never actually made a full YouTube video on it. So we'll start with the Porsche 928 first. I bought this car in 2000, I think it was 2009. My wife was pregnant with twins. Somehow she let me buy it, but it was only $6,000. I bought it in New York. I flew out there to look at it, see it. I was not making a lot of money at the time. It was a pretty big deal for me. Is it like a second car? And I saw it, liked it, had it shipped out. Owned this car ever since. It now has, had 118,000 miles on it when I bought it. I think it's got probably 140,000 on it now. The speedometer's been fixed and then broke and fixed and broken again. It has some love taps on it. It's had some definite use in its time, but it's a super fun car. I think this was 285 horsepower from the factory, but I do have an off-road X-pipe on it and a pork and chip, a computer chip, and we can't open the door because I'll hit the garage door opener right now. It's a 5-speed, of course, and this car is so much fun to drive with the chip and exhaust. They've dynoed these cars with those two modifications and gotten over 300 rear wheel horsepower just with those two mods. And I know a lot of times you get those mods and a K&N air filter will have 20 horsepower, and it really does almost nothing. You can't feel it. You could feel it when you did those mods in this car. Huge, huge difference. And I love the rear end on them. And I have a full video of this car, and I should have a full video of all my cars up on the channel soon. But really fun cars, probably worth 15 to 20,000 now. It's kind of tricky because, like I said, it's not in perfect shape. It's got high mileage. It's got a broken windshield, so but they're still going up in value. Those cars are definitely doing a lot better. All right, next one we'll do here is the 1981 Aston Martin V8. I bought this 2017 or was it 2018? I don't know, in that range, and I paid $125,000 for this car. So this was a lot more expensive purchase. Found this actually in Colorado. It's one of the few cars I bought in Colorado. That's where I'm from. That's where I live. And I actually saw this car at a car show a few years before I bought it. And then I saw another person who had a blue one of these at a Cars and Coffee in Louisville. And I went up to him, talked to him. Awesome car. I'm like, hey, if you ever sell this car, let me know. I might want to buy it. He's like, sure, whatever. I'm like, no, I'm serious. We talked some more. He's like, okay. We exchanged numbers. He gave me a call a couple weeks later and said, hey, I might know someone who wants to sell one of these. I'm like, really? He's like, yep. And started talking to him some more. He's like, I've got two of them. And so he had this red one too, as well as the blue one. We talked for a while. I drove it. I saw it. We came up with a number. I ended up getting it, and a super awesome car. One of my rarest cars. They made between 50 and 100 of these in 1981. Hard to say for sure. There's not a lot of production numbers on them. Aston Martin was continuously in bankruptcy. So they didn't make a lot of cars, and they had like a 5-year waiting list for them or something. This car was in the Living Daylights, the James Bond movie, not this exact car, but car like it. And Aston Martin would not give them any cars for the movie. Every car company would always give movies cars. Aston Martin wouldn't do it because they had so few cars. They had to save them for customers. So they bought used cars, just made it work somehow. But you don't see these in movies too often, especially featured like they are in that one. This car has 35,000 miles, I believe. It isn't automatic, unfortunately. A lot of people put 5 speeds, 6 speeds in them, and it doesn't really hurt the value. It actually increases it. This is just a regular V8 Volante. Volante means convertible. And then it's not a Vantage. A Vantage has the upgraded kind of 400 horsepower crazy beast motor and the closed grille. This is just a regular V8, so it's like 265 horsepower. It does well. Definitely kind of my slowest car. But the Vantages are beasts, but very rare. Very hard to find, and they did not come in convertible in 1981. I think they did a few years after that. So this is an awesome car, fun car, love it. This actual car was in the show Dynasty, the old sitcom from the 80s, and there's a plaque inside of it talking about that, but it was not in the James Bond movies. So again, I have a full video of this car too on my channel if you want to check that out. Next up, we'll do the Diablo 1999 Alpine Edition. I bought this in 2014. I've almost had it 10 years. It's crazy. Delivered to me on Father's Day. That was an awesome day. I was at my in-laws' house. Got a call from the shipper that the car was arriving. We were there for Father's Day. I'm like, sorry, we got to go. we jetted out of there, came back. And my first time seeing this car was when it was shipped to me. First time driving a Diablo was after this was shipped to me and I bought it. Amazing car. Love it. It's a V12, 5.7 liter, 535 horsepower. Basically the same motor as the Countach, just a few tweaks here and there over the years. Displacement is all-wheel drive. That's what VT stands for. Stands for vicious traction, which is all-wheel drive. It is an Alpine Edition, 4 of 12. Nothing too special in the Alpine Edition. 6 were blue like this. It's Monterey blue. 6 were yellow. I think Nick Cage had a yellow one for a while before he lost it. Snow corn interior. Of course, it's got a gated manual. Every Diablo was a manual. All of them had 5-speed manuals. The 99s had the updated dash. Much nicer interior. And the Nissan 300ZX headlights, of course, that everybody talks about. Yes, underneath this carbon fiber, it does say Nissan, but they literally only had these for this and the 6.0. So why reinvent the wheel before they had pop-up headlights? This car I paid $126,000 for, 2014. Is probably worth $400 in that range right now. We just saw Donald Trump sell, which was similar to this one. His was a 97. His was a roadster, so the roof comes off. His sold for $1.1 million, but it also had Donald Trump's name on it. So hard to say. That doesn't really tell me what this one is worth, but it might make mine worth a little more because it's so similar to his. Maybe. I don't know. That's what I'm going with. So that's that car. Love that car. It's had 21,000 miles on it when I bought it, 22,000. And now I'm getting close to 30, I believe. I think that's where I'm at. So that's the Diablo. Here we have the Countach, which is my favorite. This one I bought 2 years ago. Crazy I've had it that long. Paid $500,000 for it. Which was actually a pretty good deal because these are going for $600,000-700,000 now. And love this car. It has 22,000 kilometers on it, which is like 12,000 miles, something like that. And it used to be white. I did not paint it. People always ask me, did you paint this? No, I did not. It was painted in the early 2000s. And what happened was, it was actually stolen, wrecked, just barely, just a tiny bit of damage right there by the wheel. And the new owner decided to paint it red. So it became red. It's still got the red interior. It's a white car though. And wonderful car, wonderful smell. I just sit in here sometimes. It's got a 5-speed manual transmission, of course, the 80s dash, crazy seats. The interior is crazy. I do fit in here. I'm 6'1", about 230-ish on a good day. I wear size 14 shoes, so I do have to take my shoes off when I drive it, but still a blast to drive once you learn to sit in it. Once you learn to fit in there, it really is a ton of fun. And it's got, of course, the V12 I was just talking about. It is rated at 420 horsepower, so fuel-injected US version. And the carbureted version from Europe would have 455 horsepower. This one doesn't sound that loud. Countaches aren't super loud. It's all stock. I might put an exhaust on it at some point, we'll see. But to do that, you pretty much have to do an engine out. So if I have to do the clutch, major service, maybe I'll do it at that point. But this car is built around this motor. I have a full video on this car too, of course. But my favorite car, by far, love this car. And yeah, it gets a lot of looks for sure. The most looks out of all of them. And the Diablo does well. Even the Porsche gets looks. And the Aston Martin's kind of weird because most people don't know what it is and they get really confused trying to figure it out. And then once in a while you meet someone who knows what it is and they go bonkers and crazy because they never, ever, ever see those. So that's kind of fun too. All right, so those are the cars in this garage, and we'll probably do the office garage. So those cars definitely get the garage, and I switch out these over here all the time. The Countach and Diablo pretty much stay right there, but I'll bring the Supras, Esprit, switch them out with the office with these cars all the time. I try to drive them as much as possible. And then here are my dailies, which are, I know, not as exciting. I will actually start one. So that's the Velociraptor 2017 Hennessy 500. So this is not the Coyote V8. This is still the EcoBoost. And the 500 means it has 500 horsepower. So it's not as crazy as some people think it is. It's not the V8 swap. They do add the wheels, suspension, tune it a little bit, add some bumpers, stuff like that. And I don't know what that's from. Look at that guy. Huh. And it is trash because I take my kids to school all the time. But it's a fun truck though still. It's got the little badge right there. I paid, what did I pay for this? $62,000 in 2019? I had it that long? That's crazy. I think so. And it had 60,000 miles on it, and now it's got about 89,000 miles on it. I don't put a ton of miles on any of my cars because I have a lot of them, and so I drive quite a bit of them all the time. This truck new was like 120,000 or something because Ford ships it to Hennessy down in Texas. They do their modifications, and they still sell it with the Ford warranty, all that. The V8 swap ones are like 180, maybe even 200,000 now. And you'll see the numbers like 600, that's still an EcoBoost. The 750, the 850, those are 750 horsepower, 850 horsepower. Those are the V8 swaps. And yes, they do have the 6x6 and crazy stuff too. But yeah, not all Velociraptors are quite as crazy as people think they are. And when I bought this, I think it was the only used one in the country that was for sale. I think maybe I got it in 2020, I don't know. But it's been a good truck. It's got some taillight issues now. At night, I feel like every time I turn on the blinkers, the taillights go out and won't come back on. I've taken it into a couple different places, they can't fix it, so there's some kind of short somewhere. And we've got the bed liner and all that, and it's got the sunroof. So it is the higher optioned Raptor with the Hennessy package, which makes it a pretty fun truck. All right, what's it worth now? I haven't kept up on them. Maybe 50 something. It's hard to say. The Velociraptor definitely helps it keep its value, but yeah, when I first bought it, it was worth more than I bought it for, because that was right when car prices were going crazy. Oh, hi little bunny. So, and you can hear my dog barking. This is the poor Audi sitting under the tree, but it's already got hail damage and some other issues with it. That's the wrong keys. This was my daily driver for many years too. After, let's see, I had my Mustang was my daily driver, and then had an Infiniti G35X. That was my first car I ever got a car loan on. It was my daily driver for a while. It got T-boned and totaled, and then I bought this around 2013, 2012, I think. And this is an S4. It had like 20,000 miles on it when I bought it. It's a 2010, first year for the B8, right? The supercharged V6. It is a very fast, very fun car. I paid $42,000 for it when it was used. Got it certified out of California, and that had a better warranty than the regular cars. So that worked out pretty well. Had it shipped to me. Never saw one before that, but I did drive a couple of them. And it's listed as 330 horsepower, but man, it is faster than every other sedan I drove in that horsepower range. I don't know if they just under list that horsepower, or if it's just the gearing. It launches like crazy. Super fun, super fast car. These are probably worth, I don't know, 15 to 20,000 now, based on the condition it's in. It's got 107,000 miles, I think. So I've definitely put some miles on it, had some fun with it. Definitely a cool car, and I still drive it sometimes if the truck is down, or if I drive at night since my taillights are out. Here. Where did I get my, I don't know if I mentioned, I got the truck in Louisiana from a dealer down there, I think. Or was it Mississippi? Maybe it's Mississippi. This is my office, where I also have built a garage to house some of my cars, so we'll show you some of my other cars. And it's Fun Car Friday, so usually on Fridays I drive one of the fun cars. Today it's a Countach to work. Sometimes I do lives on TikTok, make car videos, things like that. It's also laundromat day. I own a couple of laundromats, and so I go there, collect quarters, count them. It's actually really fun for me. I have an obsession with quarters, apparently. But this is another one of my cars. This is a 1991 Toyota Supra Turbo Targa 5-speed. I bought this from Bring a Trailer for, I think it's $22,000 2 years ago in 2022. And one thing, I wish it had a leather interior, but it's really hard to find 91 and 92 Supras. Has 100 and some thousand miles, 107, so kind of high mileage. But I wanted one of these because the first car I ever bought on my own was an 87 Supra NA 5-speed that was midnight blue. Love that color too. And then I had an 89 Supra NA automatic I got a really good deal on in Portland, Oregon, drove it back to Colorado. And I had a 90 Supra Turbo Targa 5-speed that I bought later on, before I bought some other cars. So Supras have always had a place in my heart, and I always like the 91 and 92s. They have the, I think, better wheels, and I've always liked the look of these cars. I know some people don't, but I have always loved them and had a lot of fun with these cars. Inline 6, 3-liter, small turbo, 232 horsepower, like 254 torque or something. The non-turbos had 200 horsepower. So the turbo only added 32 horsepower on these back in the infant, turbo technology days of the 1980s. And I don't, is that new? What is that from? I don't remember that. Obviously a bird came over here, but I do not remember that scratch. My car has been in the garage pretty much most of the time. So anyway, I bought this on Bring a Trailer, like I said, and it's a really fun car, but you can modify them. You can make them quite a bit faster pretty easily. Put on a boost controller, exhaust, intake, all kinds of stuff you can do to make them quite a bit faster and quite a bit more fun. This one's bone stock. Maybe at some point I'll do something to it, but for right now, I'm okay with it as it is. But probably I don't say my boringest car, but not one of my most exciting. But it's more of a nostalgia car for myself. Then in here, we've already talked about the Countach, but you can see it's so nice having an office garage because I can pull it in here if I'm driving somewhere else or if it gets stormy. I don't want to, meet a seller of a property or something that I might buy in this car. I can pull it in here. Then when I head home, I'll drive this home and pull the Supra back in when we're done. Here's my other Supra, which is a 94 twin turbo, 6-speed Targa US version. And I bought this in 2020 for $57,000. And it has 118,000 miles. I don't mind high mileage cars because I drive them and I enjoy them, especially one like this. If I had a real low mileage Supra, I feel bad about ever driving it. And yes, it's dirty. It got left out in the rain. Was that last week or the week before? And without the target top too. So sometimes things like that happen. And I had a few videos on it on TikTok and different stuff explaining that situation and here on YouTube. But it survived. It's all good. And really fun car. It's a 3-liter inline 6 as well, but twin turbo. 320 horsepower. And I think the non-turbo ones were like 230, something like that. So huge difference in these between turbo and non-turbo, unlike the Mark III. This is a Mark IV Supra, the other one's a Mark III. And then this is actually lighter than the Mark III Supra as well. The Mark III is a little heavy at like 3,450 pounds. And this one, I think it's around 33, maybe 3,200. But they actually made it a little lighter, which, in the 90s and 80s, usually saw cars getting bigger and bigger. So that's kind of interesting how they did that as well. Almost all stock, has an exhaust on it that was put on when I bought it, the wheels, an aftermarket radiator because we blew the radiator and aftermarket was better. But besides that, this is how it was from the factory. Again, I may or may not do mods on it at one point, but no plans to do anything immediately. They are easy to mod. You can mod them up to 500-600 horsepower pretty easily. So that's why these are such a cult classic, and the motor can handle so much power stock from the factory without doing too much internally. And rumor has it, Toyota thought about making this like a 500 horsepower car from the factory, but they detuned it because they didn't think the world was ready for it. And Japan had kind of like that gentleman's agreement where every car had to have less than 276 horsepower or something like that. So this is a dream too. Kind of when I had my other Supras, it was like, this was a holy grail to get at that point back then. And I loved these before Fast and the Furious, all that came out. I had my other Supras before that came out. And that movie almost kind of ruined it a little bit for me because they were so hyped and so, you know, crazy modded and different stuff. But I decided not to let a movie deter me, and it's a fun car. All right, I'll have to overlay some photos of these. This is my 98 Lotus Esprit V8 twin turbo up here. I do drive it too, but I haven't driven it for a couple months here. Really fun car. Another car they detuned from the factory. It's got a Renault transmission underneath it. And that transmission is very weak and can't handle the power of a twin turbo V8 very well. So they actually had 450 horsepower from this motor and detuned it to 350 for that transmission because they didn't want to replace transmissions from the warranty all day long. It is, however, modified. So whoever I bought it from, I got it from a dealer in Texas. They had modified the exhaust a little bit. You can kind of see them welding stuff on there, and they put a chip computer, you know, program on it. So it probably might have close to 450 horsepower in a fun car. Really fast, probably my fastest feeling car, fastest seat of your pants acceleration, and sounds pretty good too with a flat plane V8, 3.5 liter, I believe. I bought this car for $39,000 in, I think it was 2017. So that was a good deal. It's probably worth, you know, 80,000, maybe 70 to 80,000 now in that range. It also has in a 33,000 miles, something like that. White interior, 5-speed transmission. It's got kind of a glass roof that comes off, but you still have the door frames on it. So it's kind of interesting how that works. And it's got the OZ wheels, which are like a $5,000 option. Maybe it's more than that in 1998. Pretty rare to find those. Those are great. And it's azure blue, also a very rare color and hard to find. And that's why I bought this car, because I saw it come up for sale somewhere. And I'm like, oh, that's my perfect Esprit right there. V8 twin turbo azure blue with those wheels. So I had to buy it, and I ended up getting it. Now, I don't know if I remember saying the Supra is probably worth around 100 now. It's hard to say with the mileage it's got. But it's a good color. It's Baltic blue. It's not Royal Sapphire blue, which is the crazy rare expensive ones. It's Baltic blue, but I still like this color. And yeah. Then we have finally the Mustang 91 5.0 convertible. This is my daily driver at the end of college. I bought it then for $7,500. That was back in 2001-ish, 2002. And after college, I went home. And at that point, that's when I started modifying it, it had a catback exhaust already. Then I put on H-pipe headers, a Vortex supercharger, smaller pulley, injectors, bigger fuel pump. Ended up blowing the transmission sometime along the way, put in a Tremec. So this car's had a lot done to it. Then later on, we put on all new disc brakes, upgraded that, all new suspension, upgraded that, different wheels as you can see, but the body is all stock. So this car is a fun car. I had it dynoed probably 15 years ago, and that was before we'd done some of the mods. It had the supercharger and stuff, but it dynoed at that point at 300 rear wheel horsepower and almost 400 torque. So it's a fun car, and it's got a little more power since then with some of the mods we've done. It's, gosh, what's it worth? 15 to 20,000 too, probably. It's hard to say. These have gone up in value a lot. Hard to find a Fox body in good condition. And the interior needs some work. I've redone it once already. Needs it again. But it's a white interior as well. And this had, gosh, I think 66,000 miles on it when I bought it. Now it's probably close to 150,000. So the odometer has broken, been fixed, broken again. So it's had, 70-some thousand miles with a supercharger on it. The heads have never been off the engine, so the engine's completely unmolested. It's been a just workhorse with hardly any issues. And I'm not a granny driver, by no offense to grannies, but when I drive my cars, I drive them, especially this car. This car has been, I won't say abused, but it's been driven, and driven very hard, a lot, and handled everything fantastically well. So really cool. I need to get it out. I was trying to get it out today. I dropped it down from the lift and was trying to charge the battery. Almost got it started. It couldn't quite do it. And then my battery charger said it's trying to protect the battery or something, because I think we tried too many times. So we'll try and get this started again next week probably. And take that out, do some videos, have some fun drives with it as well. So those are all the cars except for my Audi S4 and my Velociraptor. I'll probably do those too. They're not in my garage, they're outside. So if you have any questions, comments at all, happy to try and answer them. Love to hear what people think, love to hear what cars you have too. And yeah, we'll have a lot more videos coming up. And like I said, very fortunate to purchased a lot of my dream cars, and I do drive them. They don't always get washed, but we try and maintain them and take care of them, and making room for them has been an issue, but I think we've got a pretty decent setup right now, as long as I don't ever buy anything else again. I think it was Mississippi, had it shipped here. The Countach I got from New York Interstate Motor Cars, had it shipped here. Had never driven one before that. I'd driven in one, but never actually driven one. Aston Martin I got here in Colorado. Porsche New York, I think I talked about that. Diablo in Seattle. And then my blue 94 Supra was from Florida. My other Supra was from Florida too. That was from Bring a Trailer. The other Supra was from a dealer. My Lotus Esprit was from a dealer in Texas. And then my Mustang I found here locally. And I think that's everything.